On behalf of the Department of Public Administration and Chandigarh, Punjab and Chandigarh IAPA Regional Branch, I extend a warm welcome to all of you to the Shri B.S. Ojha Memorial Lecture. Today we gather not merely for an academic exercise, but to commemorate a life devoted to public service, intellectual integrity, and institutional commitment. I invite distinguished guests on the stage, Professor V.S. Bhuman, Chairperson of the Regional Branch, Professor Balram Shri Sarvesh Kaushal, former Chief Secretary, Government of Punjab, son-in-law of Shri V.S. Ojha, and Professor Ramanjit Johal, Honorary Secretary of the Regional Branch. We are deeply honored to have members of late Shri B.S. Ojha's family, his daughter, son-in-laws, other relatives who are with us today and have joined us online for this memorial lecture. We also warmly welcome and acknowledge the presence of esteemed colleagues and well-wishers who have connected with us virtually and are sharing this moment of remembrance. The gathering and to share reflections on the life and legacy of late Shri B.S. Ojha, I invite Professor Ramanjit Johal, Honorary Secretary of IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch.
My privilege, on behalf of the Regional Branch, IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch, and the Department of Public Administration, to welcome our very, very honorable guests this morning, the family of Shri B.S. Ojha, friends, the luminaries, I would say, from the civil services, from the legal profession and academia, and our very, very special guests, the students who are the future and who will be inspired by today's proceedings, I am sure. So we assemble here today to honor and celebrate with profound respect the memory of Shri B.S. Ojha, IAS, retired, and former Chief Secretary, Government of Haryana, an eminent and illustrious civil servant, and our former Chairperson of the Regional Branch, who has made immense contributions at every level that he has been at, and been a really, leading light for our branch. Mr. Ojha passed away on November 24th, 2025 in Chandigarh, loved, cared for, and cherished by his family and friends, leaving behind a legacy that is measured not in headlines but in institutions strengthened, standards upheld, and lives quietly influenced. Mr. Ojha rose from humble beginnings and rose to great heights in the field of administration and public service. He was a distinguished alum of Government College Ludhiana and brought glory and laurel to his alma mater as the president of the college union and the best speaker at the Indo-Pak debate held in Lahore in 1958. Later, while in service, much later, he also pursued law at the Department of Laws at Punjab University, Chandigarh in the late 1980s. And we thank Professor Balram Gupta for ideating this lecture and saying that he would make the oration in honor of his former student. Mr. Ojha joined the Indian Administrative Service in 1959, following the footsteps of his elder brother, Mr. R.P. Ojha, former Chief Secretary, Punjab, and laying the path for his younger brother, Mr. B.N. Ojha, additional Chief Secretary, Punjab. He was allocated the Punjab cadre, and very early in his career, he played a vital role in setting up PGI Chandigarh and in census operations. With the creation of Haryana in 1966, he was transferred to that cadre and he shaped the administrative history of that state. Known for his keen intellect and astute wisdom, his erudition and sagacity, his calm strength and optimism, and his ready wit and humour. As Chief Secretary of Haryana from 1991 to 1994, he was a towering icon of leadership and empathy for the state and his younger colleagues, and a mentor and guide for many. He was instrumental in shaping public policy all through his distinguished career as a Principal Secretary to several Chief Ministers, cutting across political lines, and as Finance Secretary of the state. He displayed a rare combination of administrative rigor and political neutrality, qualities that earned him respect across governments and ideologies. Mr. Ojha's contributions were immense beyond the state also. He contributed in the field of sports and youth development at the national level. As President of the Gymnastic Federation of India and as member of the International Federation of Gymnastics, he was instrumental in widening the scope of the competitive gymnastics and integrating Indian gymnastics with global standards. He was Vice President of the Indian Olympic Association and played a significant role as a member of the organizing committee of the 82 Asian Games held in Delhi. He led the Indian contingent as a chef de mission in 1998 Commonwealth Games at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He also served as the Director General of the Commonwealth Games 2010. Mr. Ojha helped lay the early policy framework for hosting international sporting events in India, thereby enabling the bid for the 2030 Commonwealth Games to be held in Ahmedabad. Equally significant was his association with the Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi, where he served as a life member and was the chairperson of the regional branch Punjab and Chandigarh for long years. He mentored young officers and contributed to the intellectual and ethical foundations of public administration, and in recognition of his outstanding contribution to public service and administrative excellence, he was honored with the Paul H. Appleby Award for Distinguished Services, one of the highest national recognitions in the field of public administration. Post-retirement, Mr. Ojha also served as an advisor to Punjab University, where he played a key role in setting up a teaching center for civil services coaching and preparation. A recipient of the Punjab University Distinguished Alum Award, he was a fellow of the He was also a fellow of the Economic Development Institute of the World Bank, Washington, D.C., and as always excelling in everything from early on in his career, he had secured distinction in the course on government and development at the University of Oxford. Sri Ojha wore many hats with effortless ease. He was a truly devoted and caring family man too. He was constantly supported in all his endeavors by his wife, who sadly predeceased him, late Mrs. Pushpa Ojha, who apart from being a devoted wife and mother, was a national level player, an eminent educationist, and an able administrator who was awarded for her meritorious service by the Chandigarh administration. He played a pivotal role in shaping the destiny of a pivotal role in shaping the destiny of the Government College for Girls Sector 11 as its principal. Before that, she was at the Government College for Girls Sector 42. And post-retirement, she also served as a member of the Chandigarh State Consumer Commission. I would like to say that I had the honor of being in the college when she was principal, and we have very, very fond memories of her. A very able administrator, firm administrator with a soft heart. In her vibrant colors and flashing smile, vivacious, she really charmed us all. And every year we looked forward to the lunch that was hosted by her, very gracious hostess, around this time of the year. Was it their wedding anniversary?
That's right.
Which she never let on because she didn't want anybody to arrive with gifts. So she just hosted this lovely lunch in the Chief Secretary's bungalow in Sector 7, and we enjoyed it thoroughly. Shri Ojha is survived by his sons and daughters. We have Mrs. Professor, I would say, Dr. Anita Kaushal here. We have Mrs. Namrata Kaushal here, and their husbands, Shri Sarvesh Kaushal and Shri Sanjeev Kaushal. Anita Kaushal ji has done them proud, as have their sons-in-law. She is principal of the Postgraduate Government College for Girls Sector 11, an ex-fellow member of Punjab University Syndicate, and former Dean of the Faculty of Design and Finance. IAS, retired as Chief Secretary Punjab, and Mr. Sanjeev Kaushal, retired as Chief Secretary Haryana. So we know it runs in the family. Shri B.S. Ojha was known to us for long years as the chairperson of the regional branch. We looked forward to events at the branch, almost monthly events at the branch, where he would come with his inimitable wit and humor, with his gentle mentoring to the students, always encouraging them to, speak up during the meetings. And when he summed up the meeting, we looked forward to what he would come up with from his huge range of, or a repertoire, I would say, of anecdotes from his administrative experiences, long administrative experiences, from his student days too. And he always, I would say that we have very few of them now. I would call him a Renaissance man who always, had a view on things that, very vast, I would say, world view, and he always had a couplet at the end of the day to capture the essence of whatever had transpired. So, Ojha sir, this one is for you. I recite Ali Muhammad Shah's couplet. अब क्या हुनर की कद्र, अब क्या हुनर की कद्र, वो अहले हुनर गए. अब क्या हुनर की कद्र, वो अहले हुनर गए. ये दौर और है, वो ज़माने गुजर गए. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Johar, for those insightful reminiscences that reminded us of the enduring values and contributions of Shri B.S. Ojha. We now move to the most significant segment of today's program, the memorial lecture titled Good Governance Under the Indian Constitution. The theme is deeply relevant in contemporary public discourse, especially as governance paradigms increasingly emphasize constitutional morality, accountability, and citizen-centric administration. May I request Professor B.S. Mumman, Chairman of the IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch and former Vice Chancellor, Punjab University Patiala, to chair the session. So it is now my privilege to introduce the speaker. Professor Balram Gupta is an eminent jurist, distinguished academic, and a senior advocate, uniquely recognized both as an emeritus professor and a senior advocate. And he is currently the Vice Chairman of the IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch. With a remarkable journey spanning nearly 6 decades, Professor Gupta has contributed immensely to legal education, the legal profession, and judicial education in India and abroad. He has served as Director of the National Judicial Academy, Director Academics at the Chandigarh Judicial Academy, Dean of the Faculty of Law at Guru Nanak Dev University, Professor and Chairman at Punjab University, Department of Laws, among many other distinguished roles. An internationally respected scholar, he has delivered lectures at Cambridge, London, Columbia, and George Washington Universities, and has represented India at global judicial forums. His lifelong commitment to mentoring judges and strengthening constitutional values has earned him numerous honors, including the State Award by Chandigarh Administration on Republic Day 2026. A prolific writer and columnist, and the author of My Journey with Law and Justice, Professor Gupta continues to inspire generations of scholars and as well as practitioners. We are deeply honored to have him deliver today's memorial lecture. Now I invite Professor Gupta. Sir, we look forward to your address.
A generous introduction. Mr. Sarvesh Kaushal, Professor Goman, Professor Ramanjit Johan, the family members, the presence of so many former chief secretaries is rather intimidating. Professors of the university, ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply honored and privileged to deliver this first oration in the memory of late Shri B.S. Ojha. This oration is a tribute from a teacher to a student who throughout his life journey epitomized good governance. I recall his presence in the class during the year when he was with us as a student of law. The very presence used to add to the excellence of achieving interaction, good discussion in the class for that matter. I used to go extra prepared for the class in which he was a student. Why? I wanted to extract the maximum from him. And I could do that because his experience, rich, varied experience, I need to be extra prepared for that. It was a learning and education throughout when he was a student with us. And today, when I recall the interactions which used to take place were so meaningful, so wholesome. I remember at the same time, former DGP of Haryana, Mr. P.C. Wadhwa, he was also a student at that particular point of time. We were discussing the role of the principles of natural justice in the performance of administrative functions. And Mr. Wadhwa got agitated on a particular issue in regard to those principles. Mr. Ojha kept on only listening to that and just said one particular aspect. A good police officer should never lose coolness of his mind. That was the way that he used to really nurture the class discussions in that process. He would listen patiently, carefully, and will not participate initially as such. But he would come up in the end, summing up the whole aspect, sharing his own experiences in that process. The legacy of Mr. Ojha is unique. I wonder, 5 former chief secretaries, they can truly constitute the constitutional bench to deal with any complex situation of good governance for that matter. I'm honor to deliver this oration. The Magna Carta of the year 1250 gave to us three pillars of good governance. Justice is not to be sold. Certainly good governance and selling justice, they are empty. And therefore the first pillar is justice is to be. Rewarded in the sense you have to do justice in an equal manner. Justice is not to be denied, the second pillar. The third pillar, justice is not to be delayed. And this recipe of three pillars continues to be the basic parameter of good governance. The constitutional heritage, the original constitution of the year 1950 had 22 different parts. Each part began with an illustration and hand painting from the ancient times. The most unfortunate part is the original two copies, Hindi and English versions, are kept in the Parliament Library, and those original paintings are part integral of the Constitution. But the printed government copies of the Constitution and the private printed copies do not carry those 22 illustrations. Those 22 illustrations connect the past with the present in order to build up the future of good governance for that matter. Only December last, 2025, Mr. Ashok Nadir has come out with a book illustrating the role of those particular paintings connecting the Constitution. How much I wish if these paintings could have been shared, I'm sure the constitutional courts would have played a definite role in building of the future based upon the past which those particular hand paintings truly reflect. The question that I raise, does the Constitution give a fundamental right to good governance? Can the Constitution guarantee a fundamental right of good governance? The constitutional courts feel that it cannot. No fundamental right is absolute. And even if this particular good governance aspect is considered to be a fundamental right, it is not absolute. Good governance is contained in Article 21 of the Constitution. It says, state shall not deprive any person of his life and personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. Two components, right to life and personal liberty, cannot be deprived without following the procedure established by law. Now, these two components of the state action, right to life and personal liberty, procedure established by law, right from good morning to good night, from birth to death and even beyond, the state comes in conflict. And therefore, in that particular context, we need to view this aspect, which ultimately is the parameter of good governance. I would urge that the way the right to life and personal liberty have been expanded in different judgments of the apex court of the country. Virtually everything is covered. Right in the beginning, in A.K. Gopalan's case, this issue came up. The Supreme Court at that particular point of time was having 6 judges, and this matter was considered by all the 6 judges. The 5 judges took the view that procedure established by law means only such procedure which is laid down under the law. Whatever be the procedure, even if that procedure is not in consonance with principles of natural justice, yet whatever has been laid down under the law, that's the rule of law. Only one judge, Justice Furtherary, took the view, no. Any procedure cannot be treated to be reasonable, just and fair. And therefore, he took the view otherwise. 5 judges on one hand, 1 judge on the other. We move on to A.K. Griffith's case, 1970. Principles of natural justice were applicable to judicial, quasi-judicial functions. Whether those particular principles would be applicable to not only administrative functions where the state is involved. The Supreme Court said yes. The purpose of principles of natural justice is to do justice to the parties. Can we say the purpose of good governance is not to do justice to the parties? And if the purpose is the same, why should the principles of natural justice be not applied to purely administrative functions which lead to good governance? We move on to A.D.M. Jabalpur, 1976, the habeas corpus case, the internal emergency, the right to life under Article 21 was suspended. 9 different high courts took the view that the right to life is not only given under Article 21, and therefore the state cannot deny this right without following any procedure for that matter. And when the appeal went to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court majority view was that no, once Article 21 is suspended, the right to life is also suspended, and therefore there is no right to writ of habeas corpus. You can't go into the legality, whether legally detained in custody or not. The courts can't go into that point. Only Justice H.R. Khanna took the dissenting view that it is wrong to say the right to life is contained only in Article 21. And therefore, procedure established by law has to be followed. Then we move on to Maneka Gandhi of 1978. It was after the internal emergency. Her passport was confiscated in public interest, and therefore she could not travel abroad or could not go for any particular purpose, maybe the medical reasons, the professional reasons for that matter. It was checked. No procedure is laid down. Only in public interest it can be taken for that matter. Now, question was whether we follow A.K. Gopal, that whatever is laid down under the Act to be followed, or we can go into what should be the procedure of good governance under the Constitution in Article 25. It is in that case, it was laid down, procedure must be reasonable, just and fair, not any procedure, where no opportunity, no notice, your passport is deprived of, you are deprived of the passport. This is absolutely arbitrary. The government argued in this case, if we give notice, the person might go out of the country, and the very purpose of confiscating the passport would be defeated in that particular process. The Supreme Court interpreted where no such procedure is provided, follow the principles of natural justice. The Supreme Court did understand if notice is given, hearing is provided, yes, Maneka Gandhi could have run away from the country, and the purpose would have been defeated in that process. Therefore, in that context, Supreme Court said principles of natural justice are meant to do justice naturally. And in this kind of a situation, we would expand the principles of natural justice. Pass a temporary order withholding the passport. Give notice to the party concerned. Pre-order hearing and post-order hearing, these two components constitute integral part of good governance to deal with emergency situations. All the parties, if she gives an undertaking that she will not go out of the country, you don't need to confiscate the passport. And if she fails, you can proceed further. That is how procedure established by law will interpret it to mean only such procedure which is reasonable, just and fair. I would refer to another case. In spite of the fact, principles of natural justice were given such an expansion, such a focus. In the case of S.P. Gupta of 1981, what had happened was Justice S.N. Kumar had been elevated in 1977 from the Delhi, he was the district and session judge over there, elevated as an additional judge of the Delhi High Court for a period of 2 years. Before the close of 2 years, the issue arose whether he is to be continued additional judge or a permanent judge. The Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court made a recommendation that he will not continue even as an additional judge beyond 2 years. And the reason that he gave was that his integrity is doubtful. He has talked to some of the senior judges of the Delhi High Court, and he is given to understand his integrity is doubtful. And therefore, he says, I have no agency to go into the issue as to whether his integrity is doubtful, actually, factually, it is true or not. He has no machinery to go into that. I trust the senior ones and made that recommendation. The Law Minister sent that recommendation to the Chief Justice of India. And another issue was that his disposal of cases was nominal. When the matter came to the Chief Justice of India, he talked to the judges of the Delhi High Court, the senior members of the bar, and he wrote back to the government that not single one has doubted his integrity. And as a matter of record, his disposal was maximum. And therefore, on both counts, the recommendation of the Chief Justice of India was that he should be made the permanent judge. When the matter went to the government opinion, he was not continued on the probation of 2 years and went back as district and session judge. How humiliating for that matter. The point that I am raising here, that he was given no hearing and he was condemned for a serious charge of integrity. And in spite of that, he was not allowed to continue. It was challenged before the Supreme Court. When the matter came before the Supreme Court, before a bench of 7 judges, 4 judges, the majority, held. The Chief Justices, they know how to do justice to justices. And therefore, there is no need to give a hearing or an opportunity to the concerned judge. They know how to do justice to the justices for that matter. And on another aspect, the issue raised was whether, when he has no right to continue as a regional or permanent, there is the question of giving him an hearing. Little realizing, yes, he has no right of continuing as a judge, but he has the right to be considered whether he is worthy of being continued or not. That right of consideration is significant for good governance. And how can you deny principles of natural justice to justices who do justice? Which means they should not be applying the principles of natural justice in good governance in different cases which they come before them as such. Now, this was a case where Justice Bhagwati, P.N. Bhagwati, and the senior Chandrachud was the Chief Justice. He was not a member of the bench. Why? Because he made a recommendation that he should be continued as such. In fact, Justice Bhagwati required Justice Chandrachud to file an affidavit about his recommendation that he had made. And therefore, in that particular process, an affidavit was filed by the sitting Chief Justice of India, which was again humiliating. And in the judgment, you know what was observed? The affidavit is delightfully vague. I'm sharing these details that how the same principles of natural justice can be twisted in a given situation, for that matter. And therefore, what actually matters for good governance, the Constitution is good or bad. What depends upon how the Constitution is operated. That is the most fundamental aspect of governance, for that matter. And therefore, good governance means the procedure has to be reasonable, just and fair, which normally is followed in a country under the Constitution. I normally say the Russian substantive laws, if punctuated with the procedure which is reasonable, just and fair, makes the best combination for that matter. And that's the recipe again for good governance. Constitutional morality was referred. B.R. Ambedkar talked about constitutional morality. This expression is not used in the Constitution anywhere for that matter. And he said, when the Constitution was being introduced, that constitutional morality has to be culled and cultivated over a period of time. That actually has been done by the Indian Supreme Court over a period of time. Another article of the Constitution, Article 40, says, state shall not deny to any person equality before law or the equal protection of laws. Again, the basic barometer of good governance. Now, equals to be treated equally. Reasonable classification is also permitted. But if the state acts in an arbitrary manner, will it be violative of Article 14 of the Constitution or not? This issue arose as back as the year 1973 in E.P. Raipa's case. He was the Chief Secretary at that time in Tamil Nadu. He had certain differences with the Chief Minister, and he was posted on a lower post from the Chief Secretary's position. It was challenged. And his main grounds was, it is arbitrary, it is never hiding. And therefore, in that particular context, it is violative of Article 14 of the Constitution. The Supreme Court interpreted that state arbitrariness is violative of Article 14 of the Constitution. It is discriminatory. In fact, arbitrariness is the very soul which is paramount in good governance, for that matter. And therefore, in that context, this was held to be that constitutional morality which is the foundation of that. I would also like to deal with the governance issue which came up, the Tamil Nadu governance issue, and connecting it with good governance for that matter. Initially, when the issue came before the Supreme Court, and the issue was as soon as possible, because the governor withholds assent to the bill passed by the state legislature. Can the governor keep the bill as long as he wishes? And the Supreme Court said, as soon as means reasonable time. And 2 years prescription was given. Thereafter, a presidential reference was made to the Supreme Court. President can seek the opinions of the Supreme Court on this particular issue for that matter. And in that particular context, the issue came before the Constitution bench. What the Supreme Court said, as soon as possible, let there be not a judicial mandate, but there should be a constitutional courtesy. Two constitutional bodies, they should respect each other. They should show courtesy to each other and resolve the issue for that matter, sitting together across the table. Constitutional courtesy is another aspect which has recently been set by the Supreme Court. And I think it needs to be blended, constitutional morality and constitutional courtesy can really strengthen good governance for that matter. Let me share a short.
10 minutes.
More than enough. Now, in that particular process, let me share with you when I talk about the constitutional rights. When I was a young law teacher, on the United Nations Day, 24th of October, we invited in the Law Department late Justice Ojha. And at that time, the Vice Chancellor, Mr. Suraj Bal, he presided over that lecture. Justice Ojha started, had a very rich voice, and in that particular process, when he was into the lecture for 4-5 minutes, the Vice Chancellor dozed off. Teacher felt very bad about it. He abruptly closed the lecture and sat down. Mr. Surabhan realized what had happened. He stood up and says, "My Lord, your voice was so melodious, it lulled me to sleep. I'm sorry, I will not repeat it. Please continue." And Justice Ojha continued. This shows the respect for each other, how you can resolve issues and situations for that matter. I'm sure over a period of time, certainly constitutional courtesy can be developed, jurisprudence can be developed, which can be meaningfully used for good governance under the Constitution. What are the strengths of good governance? For good governance, you need independent judiciary. I don't need to elaborate on that. But equally, you need independence of the other constitutional bodies, the Election Commission of India, the other bodies, Union Public Service Commission, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, and many other bodies for that matter, CBI or ED for that matter. They must be also independent, be not the mouthpiece of the government. We want good governance in that particular context. That's what is required. You know, what is the barometer of good governance? If something has been wrongly done, we need the independent judiciary to deal with that. Equally, we want the constitutional bodies under the Constitution must act reasonably, fairly under the Constitution in that context. The constitutional morality and constitutional courtesy are twins, are interwoven, and they need to be nurtured, cultivated as twins to provide good governance in that context. And finally, I would say, being ever so high, the Constitution is above you. Yes. Even Trump is not above the Constitution. Thank you so much.
As a tribute from a teacher to a student was truly enlightening and thought-provoking. Your articulation on governance, specifically towards the end, talking about how constitutional morality and constitutional courtesy, they will strengthen good governance. This is truly something that each one of us needs to reflect upon. Now I invite Professor Bhuman, chair of the session, for his remarks.
Esteemed Professor Pramukta, Honorable Sarvesh Kaushal, esteemed family member of Shri B.S. Ojha, dear Professor Ranjit Jawal, and honorable invited guests and dear students. I feel honored in paying heartfelt and sincere gratitude to Shri B.S. Ojha, former Chief Secretary Haryana and former Chairperson of IAS Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch. Friends, I had the privilege of working with him for many years as he steered and shaped the regional branch for a long period. The discipline of public administration is a fine combination of theory and practice. We in the university teach critical underpinnings of the discipline of public administration. For understanding the facets of applied administration, we are always in search of seasoned administrators who can enrich our disciplines from the applied side. Fortunately, we have many among us now today. We have chief secretaries as well as other seasoned administrators. We in the department were very fortunate in having Shri B.S. Ojha as an astute administrator for providing us the deep insight of practice and working of public administration. We in the Department of Public Administration, including our regional branch and students, would always remain indebted to Ojha Sahab for filling the gap in our curriculum delivery from the applied administrative perspective. How did Ojha Sahab play a pivotal role in enriching the discipline of public administration and deliberations of regional branch? As Professor Ranjit has shared, he presided over almost all functions of regional branch. There are two very distinguished features of his personality. He always came on time. Punctuality we learned from him. And second, he came fully prepared for the program. You know, just like a university teacher, that you are on time in the class and you are fully prepared so for your classroom delivery is concerned. As and when we are fixing a program, his two questions were pertinent to us. Where is the concept note of the program? And where is the theme paper of the program? Only equipped with these two, he used to come to the deliberations of regional branch IAPA. He was eager to listen to the keynote speaker as we did today, Professor Gupta. We were very eager to listen to him. And friends, we were equally eager to listen to Shri P.S. Ojha's penetrating, thought-provoking and very oratory sort of presidential address. His address used to be a Gagar Misagar. Sometime I can accept as the chairperson, as was honorary secretary during his tenure. I accept with full responsibility that sometime when the key speaker was not so good, the Ojha's apt observations used to fill the gap, and at the end of the day, we could claim that the program was a grand success. Therefore, it was sort of his seminal contribution to enrich the proceedings of regional branch. When he was speaking, it was very difficult for us to distinguish whether a university teacher like Balram Gupta is speaking or an able administrator is speaking. It's a rare combination. I think we are the most luckiest department in this region that we could learn, reap the benefits of his combination of intellect as well as an able administration. That's why our students are well articulated so far the applied aspect of public administration is concerned. Professor Ranjit Johar was sharing with us that he was the best motivator to the students to ask questions. That his first preference was to students. I know Professor Veer Singh and other senior professors were sitting in the audience, but his first preference was to the student. Always giving priority to students and always succeeding in his mission to motivating them to ask one or two questions from the main speaker. Therefore, this is the mentoringship of students, I think, is a distinguished contribution of Ojha so far our students are concerned. Whether university teachers speaking here. Friends, we were also very fortunate to have him time and again in the department. I have personally reaped the advantages of Ojha Sahib's administration acumen and his high ethical standards. When I became the Vice Chancellor of Punjab University Patiala, I came to seek his blessings and his advice. The only candid advice he gave, follow the rule book. If you follow the rule book, it's a safe passage for an administrator. Therefore, following the rule book is the best way to administer. I religiously followed that advice, and to the best of my efforts, I delivered in the capacity of a Vice Chancellor. Therefore, he was not only a chairperson of the regional branch, he was our sort of a friend, guide, and philosopher. As and when we were in trouble, as and when we were in search of advice, I think we were knocking the first door, and that door was of Professor Shri P.S. Ojha. That is the relationship, warmth we enjoyed with Shri Ojha. We are very fortunate, friends, today that we are having Ojha Sahib's family members with us, and few are online. We personally know many of them, and today, when we are paying tributes to him, and the best lecture for paying tribute to him was that of Shri Balram Gupta ji, because he was his teacher and he was paying tribute to the memorial lecture to a student, and this is a rare occasion that when a teacher is paying a tribute to a student, And that tribute was rarest of the rare in the sense that he spoke on a very contemporary issue, that is the Constitution and good governance. When we were listening to him, Professor Gupta's theme, good governance and the Indian Constitution, his discourse reminded us that normally the students of public administration start the discourse of good governance from a World Bank report titled Sub-Saharan Africa, from crisis to sustainable growth, a long-term perspective study. Normally we start a chapter from that, and today you have opened a new window. Don't start your chapter from that report, start your chapter from the Indian Constitution. Therefore, we are grateful to you that you have made us more knowledgeable today that how the principles of good governance are enshrined in the Indian Constitution, which aim to ensure equality, liberty, fair justice, including natural justice. Friends, when we were listening to him, he did not only refer to the Constitution, he also referred to the various interpretations given by the High Courts and Supreme Court Institute, including constitutional benches. Therefore, his lecture was a rare combination of three facets. One is his academics par excellence and his constitutional expert, as well as an able administrator, because he was Director, National Judicial Academy, Bhopal as well. Therefore, when we are paying a sincere tribute to Ojha, there was no other speaker except Professor Gupta, who was a befitting speaker for today's lecture. It's not only that he has referred to Constitution or constitutional benches, or High Court and constitutional benches. He made another pertinent. He made two other pertinent observations. One is about the independence of judiciary, including constitutional bodies. He referred to a couple of election commission, then the CAT, then UPS, CPI, and ED, and so on and so forth. Another, I think, fundamental question here he has raised, that how to ensure justice to justices, that normally we teach in class, regulate the regulators, and how to regulate the regulator. Today he has, from his own experience, has also stated that a couple of times the justice were seeking justice from their own institutions. Therefore, he brilliantly explained that as well. I think we have paid not only personal gratitude or tribute to Ojha, we have paid an academic and administrative and judicial tributes to Shri Ojha. Friends, B.S. Ojha, on behalf of regional branch as well as on personal behalf, we express sincere gratitude to Shri Pradhan Gupta for providing us an opportunity to reap the advantages of his established expertise in the field of Indian Constitution and good governance. At the end of the day, I think we can make two promises to this audience. First one is that we were the best recipient of Ojha Saab's advice as a discipline of public administration. Therefore, we promise you that we will continue his administrative and academic legacy, as well as we will try to keep his high ethical standards as high as possible. And not only this, we will motivate our students to follow the path which Shri Ojha has shown to us. Amongst the presence of the family of Ojha Saab and his friends and well-wishers, we pray to the Almighty to provide eternal sort of peace to the departed soul of Shri Ojha and enough strength to all of us to bear the irreparable loss. Thank you very much.
observations and for steering this session under your guidance. We now move to a solemn and significant moment of the program. As a mark of respect and remembrance, we shall read the citation in honor of late Shri B.S. Ojha and present it to his family members. May I request his daughters, Dr. Anita Kaushal, Principal PGCG 11 Chandigarh, and Mrs. Namita Kaushal to kindly come forward. Guidance and mentorship, achieving many milestones during the long period of his chairmanship. His distinguished leadership shaped governance, public service, and institutions with integrity, dignity, and neutrality. An astute administrator and compassionate human being, he inspired generations through quiet strength and unwavering commitment. Dear family, we are honored by your presence today and remain grateful to you for allowing us to celebrate his legacy.
Esteemed Dr. Balram Gupta, Dr. Human, Professor Johal, what should I say, the iconic academicians of Chandigarh, India, I would say. Very esteemed participants in this memorial lecture. After the chairperson has spoken, I'm slightly confused about my role today. Is it a vote of thanks? Or is it something to say after having been provoked, triggered as usual by the luminaries like Dr. Gupta on the subject of it, or both? Well, let us first start with a commemoration of Mr. B.S. Ojha. He was a practicing constitutionalist in governance. And he was very lucky. He started to bat when the constitution was less than 10 years old. The pitch was new. It had no cracks. The ecosystem was fantastic. The Indian political, social, nationalist, and administrative ecosystem was full of a visionary response. Romance, I would say, a visionary romance. It was not hard-boiled or overly baked brick as it is today. The world changes every 10 years. I was set apart from him by more than 2 decades. He was one generation, I'm the following generation nowadays, it's the third generation, and the students of fourth generation are in the making. I have been in the profession of governance, a part of the steel frame, a product, an integral part of our constitution. I have seen it from both sides. One, from inside, at times I had to be its ruthless guardian, and from outside, at times I have been its most frustrated and bitter critic also. Constitution has been systemically decoupled from constitutionalism over a period of time. The Honorable Supreme Court has been working hard and trying its best to preserve the basic structure of the Constitution. But so many cracks and leakages appear in its implementation, as Dr. Gupta said, how it is being put to practice. Dr. Gupta mentioned about an apex court judgment about constitutional courtesy. I would say it was not an innovation. It was nothing new that the apex court founded in that judgment. It was just a polite reminder. This thought was all over in the minds of the founding fathers of the Constitution of India, because the discretion, the flexibility that is incorporated in constitutional provision was basically resting upon the sincerest faith in the integrity and what Dr. Gupta called the constitutional courtesies and implementational ethics. Now, at every step, the courts have to step in to preserve it, to safeguard it, to hedge it. And these are the changing times. These are the changing times, and we can't blame any one single person or institution for that. Maybe it's a world over phenomenon that governance has changed its hue, at least it's trying to change its hue. The citizen is more or less being seen as a client, as a consumer. And the end goal of governance at the cutting edge level is considered only service delivery and efficiency. What is very, very important is what is written in the Constitution, as explained by our most worthy Professor Gupta. It's the right of the citizens, the feeling that the state is there to serve the citizen, and state is not the master of the citizen. The rights of the citizen, the dignity of the citizen, the true freedom of speech, although when we analyze that the batting wicket is cracking, we should also analyze the mindset, integrity, and level of ethics of we the people also. The Constitution starts with we the people. What type of people are we? Are we evolving after independence into better human beings, or are we degenerated? Why are people selling their votes? Why have we, the people, shed our rationality filter and suffer from terrible biases to the extent of getting triggered to be violent? Is secularism getting strengthened or getting diluted? Are we a healthier society, a healthier family? If you are not a healthier family, healthier society, healthier community, then practicing Constitution in its right way will be a challenge. It's like you own a scripture called Bhagavad Gita in the shape of a book, but you do not practice even one of its teachings. That's what is happening to the Constitution lately. We swear by the Constitution, but to what extent we implement it in the spirit in which every word of it was penned. That is the subject of introspection. Constitution as such is very well protected and hedged by the judiciary. The Constitution's practice is unfortunately not that very well hedged, because wherever there is a discretion, so many forces come up, whether they are coming up under the pressure of electoral politics or they are coming up to the people who more believe in committed civil servants, who are not sentries of the Constitution, but they are the project managers. They have to achieve this or that, whatever may it be. So I would not talk much. It's not an occasion, and the chairperson has already spoken. Though a lot of things can be said, because I have been sufficiently triggered by the great professors here, I would only say that the Indian Institute of Public Administration and its regional setup perhaps needs to focus more on the influencing factors of practicing constitutionalism rather than the book of the Constitution as it is. And the students also, we need to have very informed set of students. Internet is bringing a lot of information but very little knowledge, and in the absence of adequate rationality filters, we are filling up our minds with muck and believing whatever is catapulted into our half-baked mind. So I am extremely grateful from the side of the family members and the friends of Mr. B.S. Ojha for organizing this memorial lecture. It's a very noble thought. I keep on saying at many social occasions that an enlightened society should have more of memorial lectures where such pearls of wisdoms are available, rather than having prayer meetings. And I'm not irreligious, but I want to move the intelligentsia along with the moving times which are shaping our world. Grateful to you, Professor Guman, grateful to you, Professor Johal, and to Dr. Balram Gupta for sparing time, saying wonderful words about Mr. B.S. Ojha. One thing, Mr. Ojha led a life and spent a career which is worth celebrating. So I'll not end with a very gloomy note. I'll make you smile a bit. I had a different relationship with him. He used to treat me as one of his friends, and we used to talk like friends. And that evoked legitimate jealousy in the mind of my wife also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I invite Dr. Bharti Garg to propose a vote of thanks.
Distinguished members of the dais, esteemed colleagues, dear family members of late Shri B.S. Ojha ji, faculty members, dear students and other guests who are present here. I, on behalf of the Department of Public Administration and IAP Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch, I have both an honor and a privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this solemn occasion, the memorial lecture of Shri B.S. Ojha ji. So he was a long time chairperson of this regional branch and has been associated with this branch. First of all, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Professor Balram Gupta, Professor Emeritus and Vice Chairman of IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch, for delivering an illuminating lecture on good governance under the Indian Constitution on this solemn occasion. So the insights shared by you resonate deeply with the values that Ojha ji held so deeply in his heart and he shared with all of us. We are deeply thankful to you for sharing your scholarly thoughts and wisdom with us on this occasion. I would like to express my profound gratitude to Professor B.S. Guman, Chairman IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch, for chairing the memorial lecture. I also thank Professor Ramanjeet Johal, Secretary IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch, and Dr. Bhavna Gupta, Treasurer IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch, for painstakingly organizing this lecture and also collaborating with the Department of Public Administration for this lecture. I express our sincere appreciation to the family members of Shri B.S. Ojha ji who are present here today. His daughters, Dr. Mrs. Anita Kaushal, Mrs. Namita Kaushal, his sons-in-law, Shri Sarvesh Kaushal ji, Shri Sanjeev Kaushal ji, and other family members who have joined this solemn lecture virtually. Special thanks to Shri Sarvesh Kaushal ji, his son-in-law, for sharing his reflective insights into life and times of Shri Ojha ji and sharing his views on good governance under the Indian Constitution. I would also like to place on record a sincere appreciation for distinguished administrators, as shared with us, 5 chief secretaries who have joined us today on this day. Your presence today is not merely ceremonial. It reflects the status that Shri Ojha ji held and whose contributions strengthened public institutions and administrative discourse. We are equally grateful to the faculty members and colleagues from the different departments of the universities and colleges, specifically from Postgraduate Government College for Girls Sector 11, where Madam Mrs. Anita Kaushal is currently the principal. All of your presence speaks volumes about the academic and professional bonds that extend beyond institutions. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the presence of esteemed members of IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch. Your continued engagement with the activities of IAPA Punjab and Chandigarh Regional Branch has enriched and strengthened this institution. I would also like to extend my warm appreciation to the research scholars and students from the Department of Public Administration and sister departments, but a special thanks to the students from PGGCG 11 who have specially joined us today here. All of your presence is particularly heartening because that speaks volumes about Madam Anita's Kaushal's love and warmth that she shares with her students. I also thank the technical and support staff who has worked behind the scenes to make this event seamless. With sincere thanks to each one of you for being part of this meaningful tribute to Shri Ojha ji, let us continue to draw inspiration from the legacy of Shri Ojha ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. With this, we conclude the Shri B.S. Ojha Memorial Lecture. I request all guests to join us for tea outside, and thank you all for your gracious presence.